Hi everyone, welcome to this beginner-friendly tutorial on painting a monochrome watercolor Father's Day card. My name is Susan and I will show you how simple it is to paint this beautiful leaf-themed card. Let's first look at the supplies you will need. I have here a blank sheet of white cardstock paper that folds into a 4.5 by 6 inch card. I have already painted a few sample cards in brown, grey and blue colors. For the purpose of this tutorial, I will try another color. But before we begin, make sure you are painting in the correct direction. So check your card once. I will be going with sap green today, but feel free to try any other dark shade you think your dad may appreciate. Next we need a pencil and a black sign pen or a thick-tipped black sketch pen, whichever is easily available. We will need a jar of preferably clear water. Now onto brushes. For this size of card, I would recommend a size 4 round brush with a fine tip to make the leaves pointy. Moving on. Make sure you have a kitchen tissue handy to dry off excess paint or water. And that's it. Let's begin by first diluting our paint to identify 3 shades of green that we can use. Add in a drop or 2 of water onto your palette and then with the tip of your brush, mix in a little pigment but not too much. Keep a scrap of paper handy to test your shade. Here I have a diluted green that looks like a good light green. To paint this card, we need a light, medium and dark value of the same color. This light green will make for the light leaves here that look like eucalyptus leaves. In my experience, however, I prefer to begin with the medium value, so I'm going to add in just a little more pigment. Use the tip of your brush to mix in a little bit of pigment, not too much, to the current mix. There you go. That should do it. With this medium value, we are going to paint what looks like the palm leaves. Start from one corner of the card and using only the tip of your brush, paint a curved stem all the way to the middle. Go over it once more if you think it is too light. At the very tip, gently press down the belly of the brush to get that slight thickness. Let's try another leaf. After you've pressed down the belly of the brush, remember to ease off the pressure and gently pull away to get that sharp tip. Alright, let's do another leaf. Now slowly make your way down the stem, keeping the leaves more or less equally spaced out. You will notice the leaves get longer and thicker as you progress down the stem and shorter and thinner at the top. Try and maintain this pattern so that it looks like a palm branch. For a more organic look, you can end each leaf at a slightly different angle. At this point, if you feel unsure about painting directly onto the card, use a scrap piece of cardstock to practice this tip belly to tip motion to create these long and thin palm leaves. Once you feel you have rehearsed adequately, you can always resume and paint along with me. If you are right-handed like I am, you will find it easier to pull the leaf out from the left to the right, and not so much the other way. So then, to paint the other side of the stem, like I've done here, you can turn your card to give you the angle that allows a left to right movement easily. So turning a card, there's nothing wrong in turning a card or turning a sheet of paper to get the angle that you want. What you need is equally balanced leaves on both sides. So that is very important. Now this will be a right to left action for those who are left-handed. Alright, now that we've completed one leaf, let's try another in the exact same way but from the opposite corner of the card. When you turn the card to paint the other side, be careful not to let the side of your palm touch the wet paint. Alright, from the third corner now. Where possible, try not to overlap leaves of one shade. We are going to overlap leaves of different shades later. And finally now onto the fourth corner. I hope you've noticed the leaves at the bottom where you have to imagine the point of attachment of the leaf to the stem to be outside the card, but the rest of the leaf still continues to show on the card. And with that, we are done with the medium green. Let's move on to light green. To make a lighter shade, simply add 1 or 2 drops of water to the existing shade in the palette. Test this out to verify that it is adequately light. These are now the eucalyptus leaves you see here. We begin by placing the topmost circular leaf somewhere in the center of the card, but in the little white space between the palm branches. Draw the rest of the stem, keeping it between the palm branches, and now start adding circular shaped leaves that get larger as they go lower. Connect them to the main stem as you go. Since this is a light shade, these leaves do not clutter the space too much, and so you can add more than one stem on the broader side of the card. You will notice that I try to place my leaves in the white spaces as much as possible while maintaining a uniform distance between the leaves. But there may be the occasional overlap that cannot be helped. But since overlaps do not show clearly, we want to try and avoid it where possible. Keep moving to the other sides of the card, doing the same thing we've already done on 2 sides. I'm going to try another one here. Not a big stem, but a small one, just to get it to evenly fill in the gaps. Keep continuing with the light green until you have completed all the sides. You can pause this video whenever you like if you feel you need to catch up. Now onto the dark valley of green to create a third type of leaf. You will notice I've made them in varying heights in my sample cards by judging how much space I need to fill up. To get your darkest shade, add more pigment to your last shade in the palette. This now will be more paint and less water. You will find that this mix also gets thicker as you add more paint, and that the brush moves just a little bit slower too. I'm going to try and place my stem between the light green and the medium green stems. There is no precise placement here, so don't worry too much. Let your eye guide your hand. Keep the stems nice and thin, but always using just the tip of your brush. Keep the pressure light, and if possible, try doing it in a single stroke. If it helps, you can try and practice a long curve separately on that scrap piece of paper before you try it here on the card. You will notice I'm marking all my dark stems up front to get a clear idea of the placement and how short or tall each of these stems would be. Now this looks alright to me, so I'm going to start those leaves. These are pretty much common leaf shapes that we have all drawn and painted as kids. The leaf is neither too long nor too short, and it has a thicker body than the palm leaf. It still works best to paint them from left to right if you are right-handed, that is from the stem outward. Use the tip of the brush, the belly, and then the tip again, but quicker than before. The other option is you can also paint the curved outline of the leaf and then color up the space in between. I've done it that way here. You can see this dark shade makes it tough to see the light shade below, the lightest green that is. But those light greens are there, and the fact that they're there reduces the bright white of the card itself. Once more, you don't need to follow the exact number of leaves and stems I've shown you here. It's completely up to you. Use your artistic sense and let that artistic sense guide you. One good tip would be to step back every now and then and check your work, maybe once in between a few stems. This kind of stepping back will help your eye catch any imbalances in the leaves. So if you have too many leaves, you may want to continue more leaves than less. So to balance out gaps, you can always add more stems of varying heights. And that's the end of my leaves. This looks quite nice to me. So I'm going to let this dry completely before I come back to personalize my card. Before we begin, let's make sure there is no wet or moist paint on this card. Now take the scrap paper and write out the endearment of your choice in pencil. I'm going to write Dad, so I'm going to try stylish DAD. If you aren't comfortable trying cursive writing or any other running script, you can opt for all capitals. Okay, so now that I have got Dad written out, planned out, I'm going to plan the placement on the card. I'm going to use this scrap of paper as my guide for a baseline and write out the word Dad in pencil. I'm going to try and keep this pencil mark as light as possible, so you may have a tough time seeing it, but make sure that the pencil mark is light so that the erasing later on is really very little. Okay, so I am quite satisfied with my placement here. If you feel you need to rewrite, go ahead and rewrite. Only make sure that when you're erasing earlier marks, you are gentle and you are erasing carefully so as not to disturb any paint. I'm going to write over the pencil mark with my black sign pen. You can use a sketch pen if you have one. I like the thickness of the tip here. It makes the letters stand out against the busy background. So use a thick tipped black sketch pen if you have one. Since I've tried a faux calligraphic style, I'm going to thicken my downstrokes on each letter. You can do this with any font really. Thickening the lines makes the letter stand out beautifully. So a thinner letter is rather hard to read and a thicker letter is a lot easier. So try to thicken some strokes, if not all, to make the word stand out. Lastly, let's add in an outline for definition. I'm doing this freehand since I've done this a few times already, but if you would rather use a scale, please feel free to do so. Just remember to be careful lifting or moving your scale after drawing the line. If the ink is wet, it may smudge on the card. And there you go. There's one card that's sure to brighten your dad's day. I hope you've enjoyed making this card as much as I have. Please do give it a try using colors other than green if you like. You can share your work with me if you are on Instagram or Facebook. Go ahead and tag me there. My handles are provided at the end of this tutorial. I would love to see your lovely cards. Alright then, have fun. Happy painting.